Man, this video was a long time coming. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Unexplored Mojave, the Army of Otters here, and today we're going to be looking at REPCONN HQ. This is recommended to me by Josh1312. Now this was recommended to me a long time ago, about 4 months ago, so I want to apologize for the delay in covering this location. There's just so many things in this location to talk about and to cover, and I wasn't sure how to approach it. And what I ended up doing was I decided to play through REPCONN in 2 different playthroughs. In the playthrough I'm using for this series, I've already cleared REPCONN HQ. However, there were some hidden items still left in the building, and I used that account or that playthrough for those items. But to showcase most of the facility, I used another playthrough that was newer to the game and had not explored REPCONN HQ. So some quick facts about REPCONN, the company. REPCONN was a rocket company in the pre-war era. Of course, if you've done the quest, Come Fly With Me, you're using REPCONN's launch facility to launch Jason Bright's Colt into the stars. Now, in 2075, House, the CEO of RobCo Industries, purchased REPCONN, and he used it for weapon development, and it probably played a role, or somewhat of a role, in the defense of New Vegas, or Las Vegas at the time. Now, Mr. House had big plans to explore the stars, and using unmanned spacecraft in order to colonize and explore the stars beyond Earth. So let's check out REPCONN HQ. So REPCONN headquarters is located towards the middle of the map, and it's definitely a place a lot of players will pass by on their way to New Vegas. Now, when I was approaching REPCONN, I got approached by a disguised Frumentarius, who offered me caps in order to keep fighting for Caesar's Legion. I have a mixed reputation with the Legion, and I've never had this interaction in Fallout New Vegas before, so I just thought I would throw it into the video, although it is kind of unrelated to REPCONN, but I thought it was really cool, and basically the Legion keeps giving you caps to fight for them. Now, before diving into REPCONN itself, there are a lot of surrounding buildings. On the outside, we have 3 buildings, although we do not know what they were used for, but definitely attached to the REPCONN facility. It is in the same property, but we really don't know what they're for. And then near the highway, there is a gas station, but it is inaccessible to the player, so it's just there for aesthetic. Then on the north side of REPCONN headquarters, we have the railroad. And this railroad indicates that it was probably used somewhat for passenger transportation. And here we have a railroad crossing, and if we head down, we can actually find a playground with all kinds of playground equipment. So I'm wondering if those buildings that we saw earlier were used as some sort of daycare for the children of employees that worked at REPCONN. Then inside of the train station here, we can find a waiting room and then some cash registers. Again, this indicates that the railroad is probably used somewhat for passenger transportation. However, I think it was mainly used for industry. And then at the cash register in the shelves below, we can find a lot of pre-war money, which is pretty valuable in New Vegas, especially when you get a lot of it. And then as we approach the building, you're going to find a lot of Mr. Handies on the outside, basically just maintenance robots, and they are not hostile to the player, and they are, of course, peaceful, unless otherwise provoked. Then upon entering REPCONN headquarters for the first time, you'll be greeted by a tour guide who will offer to give you a tour of the facility. If you want to watch the tour in full, I will put it at the end of the video, but it is recommended to go on the tour because the tour guide will unlock a door for you, and you don't have to risk the robots becoming hostile when picking that door. Now, at the entrance of REPCONN headquarters, you're going to find a lot of dead fiends. I imagine they were probably killed by the Mr. Handies. Then there are 2 bathrooms, and there's nothing really inside of the bathrooms. And I did want to mention that the reason there are so many robots within REPCONN headquarters is, of course, the parent company is RobCo, which produced robots. Then in the next room, we just have some displays and the gift shop. Inside of the gift shop, we can find some bottle caps and a Star Sunset Sarsaparilla bottle cap. Now, there's going to be a hard locked door which I could not pick on this character. However, on my main account, I can pick the lock, and I already have. And inside the locked room, we can find 2 Nuka-Cola victories, 2 Nuka-Cola quartz, and a big book of science, which will increase your science skill by 3. So some pretty darn good loot if you have 75 lockpick. There's also a safe with some more minor loot inside of it. Now, normally the planetarium is locked. However, again, if you go on the tour with a tour guide, it will be unlocked for you. In the planetarium, we can find a maintenance closet. And if we go to the back of the closet, we can find a key card called Jenny Milled's security key card. And this will allow you to bypass the security robots up to the 2nd floor. So it's pretty useful. Now, from here, in order to access most of the facility, you will need 50 lockpick or 50 science. The door I just opened requires 50 lockpick or 50 science on the terminal next to it. Now, there's a lot of locked terminals within REPCONN headquarters, and these terminals detail 2 things. One is the acquisition by RobCo, and the other is leaks of the Q-35, which is the plasma rifle inside, to REPCONN's competitor, Poseidon Energy. Now, in this next little room, we can find a lot of ammunition. However, I had already cleared it out at the beginning of my playthrough, so there was just some leftovers for me, but you can find a ton of microfusion cells in this area. Next to this computer, we can find another star bottle cap, which is, of course, pretty good. There are 5-star bottle caps within this facility. Here we can see a robot asking for my identity, and since we got that security card earlier, it is okay. Upon entering the 2nd floor, you might be confronted by some kind of robot asking you for a security check. Now, you can either obviously fight the robot, which is not recommended, or you can try and get past him. Now, beside this terminal is a copy of Nikola Tesla and you, and this easily locked terminal will allow us to add our facial data to the database, giving you security clearance for the 2nd floor. So from here on out, you are safe. Now, it's advised to not set off the security alarm because it will spawn sentry bots, which can be very difficult, especially for a lower level. Now, there are a lot of robots, so if you have the pulse gun like I do on this playthrough, it is very easy to take out the enemies within this facility. So I started killing them simply for the free XP. In this room, we can find another Sunset Sarsaparilla Star bottle cap, along with the 2nd floor security card. But besides that, there is not a whole lot of loot on this floor. So moving on to the 3rd floor, which is kind of like the final area before you can get the Q-35 plasma rifle. Now, immediately on this floor, you're going to find this double-doored room with a very large desk. And in this room, next to the bookshelf, we can find another star bottle cap. So, pretty good, especially if you need them. And there's also a safe in this room, and we can loot it for some decent loot. And this safe can also be opened with this easy locked terminal. And also on this terminal, we can find some more information about the acquisition by RobCo back in 2075. Now, on this floor, we can find a briefcase, and inside of this briefcase is going to be a lot of pre-war money, so that's always going to be pretty good. Now, this is Piers Easley's briefcase, and he's an important character during the acquisition. And then we can also find some Brotherhood of Steel paladins, and that is important for the Brotherhood quest. And then in this back room, or this main executive office, we can find yet another star bottle cap, along with a very hard lock terminal, and we'll explore more about that terminal later on. Then if we go through this door and head down and go to our right, and then go to the door on our left, we can now use our newly acquired key in order to access the Q-35. Now, this gun is very good, and you can find a lot of information about the testing of it on the terminals inside of this facility. And also within this room, we can find a copy of Nikola Tesla and you, some microfusion cells, and a safe with some minor loot inside of it, and a first aid box with some random healing items inside of it. So this place has some really incredible loot, especially if you're an early player with at least 50 lockpick or 50 science. It is possible to navigate this place. Now, one thing I wanted to cover are these hidden doors. There are 12 of them throughout the facility. But in order to find these hidden doors, you need at least 8 perception and then 65 repair to disable them. These hidden doors are actually where the sentry bots come out of, and you can follow my video here to find them for yourself. Disabling each door will grant you 50 XP, so a decent amount of XP that is really easy to get. And a big reason why these hidden doors exist and why security is so tight in this facility is that when the company was acquired by RobCo Industries, the entire building was overhauled and security was heavily increased. And the reason they did this was RobCo was expected to handle defense contracts, and they wanted to use REPCONN to take on some defense contracts from the Department of Defense, so they had to handle classified research. And basically, if you set off the alarm within this building, sentry bots will spawn and it will make your life hell. So it is recommended to either not set off the alarm or to at the very least jam these doors before doing so. But of course, if you're a higher level, maybe the sentry bots are not too big of an issue. It might even be a benefit as they would provide a lot of XP. So these hidden doors are littered throughout the REPCONN headquarters, and I tried to show the most direct path to get all of them quickly in case you came here as a lower level and didn't get the doors then. Of course, I think having 8 perception is not so common in Fallout, just because perception is not the most useful special skill. So it's definitely going to be more of a late game thing in order to find these doors. Probably not something you're going to do in the early game. And on top of that, and just beyond finding them, you need 65 lockpick to jam them. And then as we reach the 3rd floor, I wanted to talk about some of the people involved with REPCONN and some of the information on the terminals. So REPCONN was developing the Q-35 because it was going to replace the previous plasma weapon within the US military. Now, originally, Poseidon Energy, REPCONN's competitor, was developing the gun, but REPCONN actually stole the schematics and developed their own. However, Poseidon Energy actually had their own plan to get that back. And that plan was by using Julia Masters, the CFO of REPCONN, who was actually a mole for Poseidon Energy. Julia Masters was tasked with intercepting the Q-35 prototype and then delivering it to Poseidon. However, this never happened because the Great War happened before Julia could interrupt the delivery. And fun fact, Julia Masters can actually be seen in the Fallout TV show during the Vault-Tec meeting. She is the one representing REPCONN. Now, as far as RobCo's acquisition of REPCONN, there are 3 important characters to understand. The first is Leonard Steeple. Leonard Steeple was the former vice president of REPCONN. Then there is Piers Isley. Isley was the former general manager of REPCONN, and as we mentioned before, Julia Masters, who was the chief financial officer. Basically, Leonard Steeple, the former vice president, did not want to sell his company, REPCONN, to RobCo because he believed that REPCONN should be focused purely on science and that it should not be handling defense contracts. It should not be associated with the US military. However, Piers Isley had little commitment to REPCONN and really just wanted to make money. He was an advocate for Poseidon Energy to buy out REPCONN, and then he was the one that helped RobCo purchase REPCONN. And actually, when RobCo became interested in buying REPCONN, Julia betrayed Leonard, and he did not know that Julia was working together with Piers in order to push the RobCo deal. So a lot of corporate espionage and behind-the-scenes shenanigans for REPCONN and RobCo and Poseidon Energy. So all kinds of interesting shenanigans going on here that definitely have connections to Mr. House and possibly the Fallout TV show. And there you have it, REPCONN headquarters. I hope you guys were able to learn something about the actual location or some of its pre-war history in this video, and I hope you enjoyed. Also, an apology to Josh for this video taking so long to come out. I am truly sorry. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unexplored Mojave. If you have any recommendations for the next location, please drop them in the comments section below. Now, as I said before, this video will have a bit of an epilogue. If you want to listen to the tour of REPCONN HQ, please stay tuned, but if not, I completely understand, and until next time.
Ready for the REPCONN tour, Rocketeers? Courtesy of the fine folks at RobCo, I'll be your guide today on the path of scientific discovery. In the lead-lined case behind me is a spent radioactive rod from one of our old reactors. No need to stand too close. Let's move along, shall we? Look here, a row of multicolored plasma fuels. Careful, they may look safe to drink, but your stomach is the last place they should be. Why the difference in cylinder size? Refining our production methods has resulted in higher yields of fuel over time. That's why. To my right, you can see a sample of some old safety barrels REPCONN once used to store radioactive waste. Perfectly safe. On my left is an example of a mountain of REPCONN safety barrels some legislators claim are poisoning our environment. Ridiculous. Behind me is our most recent rocket project, which we're keeping under our hats until launch, if you'll pardon the expression. And in front of me is a model, not actual size, of the launch dome we are using to send our rockets screaming into orbit. Now these colorful fellows behind me are REPCONN's earliest experiments in flight. Feel free to read the plaques and learn, Rocketeers. Now for the highlight of our tour. Due to a generous donation from RobCo, this next exhibit showcases the wondrous world of robots. Around you are the incredible iBot, the fearsome SentryBot, and the always helpful Mr. Handy. That helpfulness runs through our whole line. This is the final stop on our tour. This model of our solar system is a small example of where the partnership between RobCo and REPCONN hopes to go. See those little rockets zipping about? They are manned by robots, tirelessly looking for resources to mine on planets beyond our own. And that's it for our tour today, Rocketeers. RobCo and its tiny partner REPCONN thank you. Any further questions? Please, feel free to ask.